I'm Marie Lee, and I started a small business in my home, a home-based desktop publishing computer services business back in 1989. And I started the business because as a support staff person over the years of my work, I wasn't able to work in an office anymore because I was losing my hearing. And so I went home one day and told my husband I was going to start my own business. And he said, "Who are you going to work for?" And I said, "I'll find some people." And so that was the beginning of it. We went and bought a computer, and I set up my business in one of our extra bedrooms. And that was in Northern Virginia at the time. And then I started marketing myself to different people who might have been salesmen who needed a support person. Or I worked for a woman at one point who was a trainer, and she needed other people to do training in federal workforces. And so I picked up almost any kind of work that I could to call it my business. I named my business PS Express. And the PS came from a postscript at the end of a letter, and because I was doing mostly secretarial work, and the Express was that I was going to do it fast. And so I did. When I got a job, I tackled it from start to finish. And before long, I didn't need to do much marketing because the people I was working for were selling me. And they would come to me with friends or other people who needed some kind of computer services work. It wasn't too long before I found that most of my work was involving in some type of design or editing or writing, and putting it all together with a computer. So now they call that desktop publishing. Back then, I don't remember that I even called it anything like that. It was just, I need this flyer, I need this newsletter, I need this book put together. Would you help me with it? And of course, computers were just starting out then. And so I was able to figure out how to do these things on my computer so that I could work then with a print press and with my client and come up with a product for them. So I was never doing the same thing every day. That's one of the beauty points of having your own business, is that you really can work when you want to work and you can do what you want to do. Now, because I was just on my own, I didn't really run into any roadblock, so to speak, or any kind of discrimination, except one time when I went to the bank and my husband and I were applying for a mortgage, and I went to the bank and I was visiting with the president of the bank, and after 15 or 20 minutes he said, "Now when will your husband be here to sign the loan?" And I said, "Oh, well, my husband is on a trip, he won't be here." And so it was just a shock to this man that I had walked into the bank to apply for the loan on my own. So that was kind of a funny story about how women have been able now to move into the realm of doing whatever you wanted to do, and people need to accommodate us as we are. Well, I had my desktop publishing business, and when my husband retired from the Department of Agriculture here in Washington, D.C., we decided that we wanted to move to be closer to his parents in the South where he was raised. And so we moved to Starkville, Mississippi. I had never lived in the South before, and of course my husband was raised in Alabama, in the Deep South, and I have just one child. And when I moved to Mississippi, my daughter was expecting her first child, and she said, "We're going to move to Starkville also." because we want to raise our children near grandparents, which we just loved. But we knew nothing about raising children in the South in today's world. And I knew that the school systems were not very good in Mississippi and in Alabama. So the children, these two grandchildren, are the reason I got into government. And Morgan was about 3, and Lee was about 1.5 years when I decided that it was time for me to make some changes in Starkville, or to see if I could make some changes in Starkville. At that time, it had been run, or the government people there were the same people all the time. It was a network of men, pretty much, who had been doing the same things over and over again. There was no progress. There was no communication or a good working relationship between the townspeople and Mississippi State University, which is pretty much the reason why Starkville is on the map. And I just felt that I had something to offer that would in turn make the city a better place for my grandchildren to grow up. And so I pretty much just threw my hat in the ring. I was a fairly new resident to Starkville, Mississippi. I met someone who had a billboard out near Walmart, and I put my name up on the billboard. And my slogan was strong leadership for progress. And I figured anybody who went to Walmart was going to see my billboard when they went back home again, back toward town. And so I ran my own campaign, and of course, as a desktop publisher, I was able to make all of my own marketing materials. I made my signs, I made my banners, I designed t-shirts, and I just got out there and ran the campaign. Now, mind you, I'd never been in government before. And I wasn't quite sure what I was getting into, but I found that the campaign was exciting. I really enjoyed going door to door in my district and meeting people and finding out exactly what they wanted. And I think that's one of the best ways to gauge what is happening in your community. I found that there were people who were disappointed because there was so much litter in the streets, and we needed some beautification in Starkville. And people were disappointed in the schools. They were upset that the same people were being elected over and over again because there was no new blood, so to speak, getting into the races. So maybe it was just good timing on my part that I was elected as an alderman in the city of Starkville. And as soon as I was elected, I was also made the budget chairman. And after I became the budget chairman, it just happened that the treasurer of the city decided she was going to take another job. And so I became the budget chairman, elected official, and the treasurer of the city, doing all of the budget work at the same time. So I was learning it from the ground up, and being budget chairman was a great way to find out how a municipality runs and what it takes to move forward. I became an advocate for beautification in our city. I developed a relationship with the officers at Mississippi State, the president of the Mississippi State, and pretty much reached out with an olive branch to say, what can we do to make your job easier? And it was exciting work. I worked lots of hours, and it was really thrilling to be involved in that type of work, where you felt like you were doing something to help the people who elected you.